been, what's it been now? Over 2 weeks. So I may be a little bit rusty at it, but hello, newcomers, and welcome back, my fellow Eternians. As always, it's me, Per AP. Today we are doing another live stream. I haven't been able to get on the channel in quite a while. Tiffany and I have been very, very busy, and I have been wanting to update you all for the longest time on what we've been up to, what we're doing, the Dracul stuff that's been going on, Psychodia Dracul stuff that's been going on, the kind of lead up to all that, and where we are now. So and everything, I just want to start off by checking in with you guys. I hope you all are doing well. For those of you that have hung out and stuck with the channel, it means a lot, and it's good to see you all. I see some people starting to come into the comments. Aiden, it's good to see you, and I'm glad we have you here today. Um, a lot of our recent events have been dealing with us moving. We had a situation where our apartment, the place that we were primarily residing, raised our rent a lot. So there was a situation where we kind of were at the end of a lease. We had a decision to make as to whether or not we wanted to stay, and with them raising our rent, we decided we could find other places uh, to uh, to accommodate us for a more reasonable price. So we're looking into that right now. We have a lot of our stuff in storage, so like everything with the Empire has slowed down. The only thing that hasn't slowed down very much, which is actually plan to ramp up pretty quickly, is our metal melting industry, because we have David now, who is Aeternia's official head blacksmith, and is also currently in possession of our arc furnace. So as we'll be building a newer, larger, upgraded arc furnace, we gave our original to him, and he's about to be using that to start producing more metals for us in my absence, as I have been in the middle of a move. It's good to see everybody. I see Gorth jumping in. Good to see you, Gorth. Hello. Aiden says, I created my own country. Congratulations, Aiden. Rob says, hey, King, welcome. It's good to see you, Rob. Francisco says, hello from... Ooh, Yara. Hey, it's great to see you, Francisco. Francisco is actually in our Discord and was bringing up how European people who watch the channel are always disappointed because we're always doing our streams late at night. Here we're in the Central Time Zone in the United States. When we do our interview with Dracul tomorrow, they're also in the Central Time Zone in the United States. So we're going to be doing it late at night here, which means it's going to be incredibly early in the morning in Europe, and people get annoyed by not being able to see our live streams right when they happen. So I appreciate you guys being able to hang out today. Um, a a big thing for me in sort of this entire process that we've been up to is I've been wanting to improve things for you all. I can't do things super quickly. Like I said, a lot of Aeternia has slowed down. I've had to slow down, of course, in making these videos, but I've also had to slow down in a lot of the behind the scenes work that you guys don't get to see most of the time. That includes making a whole bunch of people's stuff for the Imperial market. There are a number of items that people have purchased that are on back order right now, simply because, like, months of back order, because we just have to go ahead and fill those things and try and get them done as we have everything packed up in storage. So we have to, like, individually unpack like a thing from storage, make that person's order, then get like different things and put other things back. So it is a long, difficult process. Um, that all being the case, we're actively getting orders out now. So within the next few weeks, if you've been waiting, months for an order, expect that something should be coming up pretty quickly for you. In addition, like I said, we have David, who's going to be producing a lot of metals for us, which will be exciting. And we also have future videos with Dracul and Psychodia coming out. So we initially did an interview. For any of you who are wondering, we did a live stream not too long ago with uh, Christina of Psychodia, and she described some issues with Dracul. I'm not going to go into too much of that today. You can watch that live stream in future, the live stream tomorrow with President Luke of Dracul and all that. But she described some issues. We discussed those a little bit during the live stream, but we ended up having to record a private conversation that we had. Not a private conversation. It's going to be presented to you all, but a pre-recorded conversation that we had because I couldn't get my live stream to set up properly, and only after we did that entire like 2.5 hour interview, we talked for a total of like 4 or 5 hours, and then we had talked over a couple of days as well, trying to get everything to work. But that being the case, we had to actually pre-record the video that's going to come out to you all. So I'm going to have to go back and edit that. My audio cut out entirely during the recording, so I actually have to go in and like explain what I'm trying to discuss and the questions I'm asking as she answers and responds. All of her audio was saved, but mine was not, so that's going to be another aspect of this. That all being said, the way that we're going to do this process is going to be a little bit in reverse. Normally, you would see the person who is bringing up the claims or the allegations against somebody, and then you would see that person's response. In this situation, we are bringing up Christina's discussion, her claims, just as kind of the broad tone that they were brought up online by other people, by herself, by Dracul. We talked about them a little bit in the live stream and just kind of gave a preface, a feel of that. But we're actually going to have Dracul talking about their response to the issues and being able to kind of platform that before we go ahead and do the full interview with Christina and release that. Like I said, it's already been recorded. I just have to go through and edit that. And then ultimately, I want to give my final summarizing thoughts on it, having both Dracul's statements and Christina's statements directly to our channel that we can use to verify some information. I want to be able to bring clarity to this. A lot of people have asked me, why I'm talking about that. And I wanted to spend some time during this stream kind of explaining that, because if you notice in our channel, we've talked a number of times about US politics, about world politics, and it's always because it's something that I see in the world that I feel I need to stand up for and speak out against. I don't cover things that I feel aren't relevant to Aeternia or aren't relevant to Aeternia's morals or its way of being, what it's trying to fix in the world, what it is trying to be in the world. And so for a lot of issues that happen, I just stay out of it. It's not Aeternia's business. It's not important. But there are a number of very important issues which we reserve ourselves from. But there are certain things which we absolutely cannot stand for. Things that are human rights violations, things that are very close to home for us, things that are very ideologically important to us. So even though there's a lot that we could talk about all the time, um, we focus on things that we feel really, really hit close to home for us. And so, in doing this interview with Christina and this interview with President Luke, it's really, really about trying to get the information right and then trying to draw valid conclusions from that. Issues around transphobia and about LGBTQ rights and stuff like that are, of course, very, very important to us and hit close to home. For just kind of the way that we want to be able to represent our people, the society that we want to have moving forward. And I also think this is a particularly unique situation because around the primary idea that is discussed around, these transphobic issues, around micronationalism and the feud that can happen between micronations, it also targets a lot of the same issues that micronations in general have and that a lot of people don't talk about and a lot of people don't cover. So as we have always gone about talking about, how you improve your micronation, how you relate to other micronations, how you deal with micronationalism in a clear cut and defined manner, we as a nation need to be able to focus in on what it means to be a micronation, and we as a channel need to be able to identify those things and discuss them. This gives us a great opportunity to do that because it shows not only this large event that's happened that quite a few people know about and that's going to be popular for people to check out on the channel, but more so it takes that into a context of the individuals involved. We can look at Christina's point of view and how it affected her personally, how it affected Stephen personally, how it's affected the relationship between their nations, how these things which feel very big, governments always feel like these very big, looming, ominous things, and in reality, they are made up and comprised of people. On the macronational scale, when you're talking about world governments, these are potentially thousands of people who are working and comprise a government. However, in this case, because we are talking about micronations, this may be like 10 or 20 people max. So it's a situation that has a very small scale. It affects people very, very personally because people use micronationalism as a way to express who they are and as a way to create the type of society that they would like to live in, the type of environment that they feel like is right. So it gives us a clear look at who these people are behind these micronations, what their intentions are, what their hopes are, and how that can sometimes destroy friendships. It's a big deal. I didn't want to make this live stream about that though, so we're gonna move on to talk about a few other things. I wanted to clarify that and bring that up for a few people. Also, 5 viewers, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please like. I see we got 4 likes. Um, Shepelin said, I don't feel good since yesterday afternoon. I'm sorry to hear that. That absolutely sucks. Make sure you take care of yourself. COVID's still going around, it's a big deal. Please make sure you're vaccinated if you're not. Do everything you can to try to mitigate the issues that may be caused by that. Even if your sickness right now is not COVID, having a weakened immune system from, say, catching the common cold or something like that can definitely affect that. I know you guys didn't come here for medical advice, but I hope you take care of yourself and do the best you can to help keep everybody else safe too. Um, Aiden said, I also let us know how you're feeling. You hit us up in the Discord, keep us updated. I've had a number of people who come to the Discord and talk about stuff that's going on in their personal life, and I like to hear checkups on it because I do keep up with you guys. And it means a lot to hear that people are doing okay when, there was something crazy happening. Aiden says, I got some friends that made an army. I got a vice president too. Very cool. Congratulations. It sounds like you're putting together a nice group for exploring what you want to in micronationalism. Gorth said Gorth is still looking for something to trade with other micronations. That's interesting. What is important to Gorth is a great question for me. And also, what does Gorth have the ability to trade? Is Gorth able to meet other micronations in person? Is Gorth only looking to trade online? What does Gorth need? Would be a great question because if you know what you need, then you can know what micronations or other sources may be able to provide that and what they need in return. A lot of the time, money is the easiest thing to be able to give somebody for a service, but a lot of the time, if you don't need anything as a nation, then you probably don't need to sell anything. Not to say that selling it something or producing something isn't beneficial in and of itself, but a lot of the time, if you have a goal in mind of what you want to get out of that, it makes it easier to create a scope for what you're trying to achieve. You may not dropped my phone and zoomed in a million times. You may not be, needing to sell millions of dollars worth of something. You may just need to trade one thing for one thing. So it's important to keep scale in mind when it comes to all that. I'm trying to figure out how to do this because that'll work better. There's a glare from that light. Maybe I can. Got it. Okay, so I'm back. Let's see. Aiden says, how do you even trade? Again, it depends on like what your goals are and what you're trying to do. Also, what you have the ability to do. There are some people who are adults who have a significant amount of disposable income who could, fly across the world if they needed to hand deliver something to someone. There are other people who are children who run micronations who, need their parents' permission to do things, need to make sure that they're able to work within a tight budget, things like that. All of which will severely restrict what they can do. So it all depends on your circumstance. Um, Francisco says Psychodia, an imperialist, fascist, autocratic state. May Psychodia fail. Why do you say that? Um, Again, I don't know a ton of Psychodian history, but I have met Christina. I've talked to her, and it doesn't seem like she's doing anything incredibly provocative. Again, I know that there are nations who like spam stuff. I know that there are nations who like, um, you know, do things that are fairly immature, but I haven't seen a ton of that from Psycholia. I'm just curious. Hit me up with these references. Um, Francisco say a lot of reasons, AP, a lot of reasons. That's fair. And again, everybody has their own opinion, everybody has their own reason for things. And I think ultimately I'm curious to see what Dragul has to say about that and what President Luke has to say because a lot of the time you get the full context of a situation by listening to both sides. And so it's important to hear that out. And it's important to know what it is that you're discussing by getting potentially missed pieces from other sides. But I feel like the things that we would learn about Psycholia through Drakul's interview will more than likely be things that are um, character uh, um, character traits as to who Christina is, and details of previous occurrences between Psycholia and Drakul. Not a ton around this particular issue. It seems like the particular issue that we're covering, Drakul may have some things to say in defense of, but I don't think there will be a ton of surprising revelations as to it. Again, though I haven't discussed with them yet, and I'm curious to see how the conversation goes. Francisco says a number one reason is Reichens land. I haven't heard of Reichens land. I don't know a lot about it, so I'm curious. Um, Lazix says hello Lazix. How are you? Also, if it is a thing where you've had like a dispute with another nation, um, is it? I don't know. It's interesting the position that I'm in because I don't have a particular bias toward Dracul or Psycholia as nations. I have not worked with Psycholia, I have not worked with Dracul. So Aeternia does not have an allied bias. We don't have any connection, prior established relations with either of these nations. I have met with people like I have met with Christina before. She's been in our Discord. I have also met with a number of people who are either directly or indirectly related to Dracul before, and have people in our Discord who are part of Dracul. So there are, there are things that we've had as minor interactions, but there's never been any official support or official donation to any of these nations. So all of the things that I've been following up on, and all of the things that I have been looking into, have been primarily based around these people as individuals, looking at Christina as an individual, looking at her relation to Dracul as a citizen, then looking at her relation as a monarch of another country, looking into Dracul and Stephen Luke, Dracul as a government, Stephen Luke as the president of Dracul, Stephen Luke as an individual, and other figures that come up in this. So it's really interesting to see how this has played out, the points that different sides are trying to make, and ultimately what that means for the context of the situation. Again, I'm making this a lot about that topic, so I'm going to change it for now, but I do appreciate everybody coming in and asking questions about that because it's important. One of the big things that I am excited for the future of Eternia is all of the opportunity that we're coming up with. One thing, we are getting closer and closer to a confirmation for MicroCon 2022. If you don't know, MicroCon dropped that they are having their official 2022 meeting in Las Vegas. They're having it on um, August 5th through the 7th, I believe. So at the end of this coming summer, and we should be able to be in attendance for that. We're actually looking at early bird registration for that. So that'll be exciting if we get to attend. I'd love to have a booth and set up and do stuff like that. Gorse says, I wish I could come to Microcon, but I live in Europe. Isn't there a like European micronational convention though? I know there's like a Kevin Baugh said that his inspiration for starting Microcon was that there was a micronational meeting that takes place in Europe, and then he sort of based his interest on Microcon around that. So look into that, I would say. There's Microcon. I'm trying to think of the other name of it. But there is another micronational convention I would highly recommend you check out. In addition to Microcon stuff that's exciting, we have been in talks with Arcovia. Arcovia is a nation in um, Arcovia is a nation in Mississippi that we've been talking to and hopefully going to continue to establish further relations with. We have a project that we're working on with them now, actually. And I've mentioned it in the past. I'm going to do, again, a big official video on this. I had a whole bunch of stuff planned to like drop this semester. This is my last semester in college, by the way, or at least in my undergraduate. So I want to talk about that too. But the context for the situation that we're in now is that I had planned to do all of this stuff as and just drop these videos that I could, fairly easily make and produce with the equipment and the time and the setup that I had previously in our old apartment. So I wanted to just kind of pump these videos out throughout the semester while I study and work on my schooling, and then once summer hit, be able to unveil these big projects that we're doing that I had kind of teased throughout the semester. But now I'm in a situation where everything's made a little bit more difficult and a little more strenuous because of our move. So a lot of the videos that I have planned, I'm kind of like reorganized and pushing around. I think that's ultimately for the best. I think that's going to help a lot with our situation and with moving and being able to, dedicate time that we need to personally to that. Um, hey, Tiff's over there. She just woke up. Hey, she's standing. You want me to come see you? Hey, she's coming over. She's making her way. Also, 6 viewers. I appreciate you guys. It's good to see you. Hey, she's coming in, and I'm gonna turn the camera. It's me and Tiff. We're gonna get copyright strike because of the phone. What's up, Tiff? Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's like 2 something in the afternoon, 1 something in the afternoon. But I was just talking about, I think it's going to be ultimately beneficial for us because one, it gives me time to focus on our move and everything that we've been doing, trying to get our personal affairs in order. It's also coming at a unique time because we have tax season in the United States, so I'm going to have to start filing and preparing our taxes for Aeternia, which is some crazy stuff, some exciting stuff, because we've made a decent amount of money now, a decent amount of money, $1,000, so trying to do that is going to be interesting and learning about that process, and then as well trying to go about um, a lot of the personal stuff that I have with school is going to be the biggest benefits that I have. I can, really focus down on the semester, kind of push through everything that I need to, get my degree, and then a lot of these projects that we have that are already in the works will be able to come out in the summer because I won't be taking summer school because I'll be done with my undergrad. So it'll be really cool. And I'll get some time to focus on stuff and prep for my graduate degree in the fall. So, a lot of stuff going on there. I think my I don't know. I think my biggest excitement thus far is Microcon, but I also don't know how crazy a turnout it's going to be. I've seen that thus far there are, I think, 5 nations that have pre-registered to be there, but it's a weird issue because it's so early to tell. Generally, it's going to be Las Vegas. There'll probably be some different press that show up and stuff, but I have seen some microcons that have been really big, some microcons that have felt small. So I don't know if this year's will be the biggest one yet, or if it'll be really small. There's also a disclaimer on their website that's like, unless microcon gets canceled entirely, you can't get a refund back. So if they like did it because it's in a weird place that's close to our schooling. So if they say, hey, we're gonna push it back by like 2 weeks or whatever, and then they do, and it comes during a time when we'll be in college, we won't be able to go. But they would still keep our money, which I feel like would be weird. Um, Another thing, if they like couldn't get the venue that they want or whatever, which it seems like they have a pretty nice venue picked out. But if they aren't able to get the venue that they want and it ends up being really small and people aren't happy with it, they're like, no, we still get your money. So I'm curious to see how it works out. I have seen a trend where it seems like Microcon gets bigger and bigger every year. So hopefully everything will be good and it'll work out. But I am a little bit trepidatious because of that. It's not a ton of money. It's $140 per ticket, which is 126 for the pre-order for the early bird, whatever. But that's still a lot of money for a micronation. That is, out of the our current land purchase funding right now is at like $1,300 or something like that. That is a significant percentage of our land purchase funding, over a sixth of it. So it's for us to kind of put down that money and just for the tickets, not for hotel rooms, not for driving up there and doing all that. It's a significant investment for us, and so I really hope that MicroCon becomes a big payoff for that, and that we have a lot that we can do. I want to figure out as well who's going to be in attendance to MicroCon, because the more people that we know that are, the more I can reach out to, the more we can try and plan events and things around that. It seems like if we go, we'll probably be going for more than just the 3 days that it is. So we may, depending on if we go earlier or stay later or whatever, we may be able to plan things with people in the area if they'll be there. So that would be cool. But yeah, I think that's our big summer thing for micronations. And then a lot of the, and for Eternia, and then a lot of the other stuff I hope to be focused more on our internal stuff. I want to have more meetings with David. I want to try and see if we can get more like local recruitment stuff going, which has been interesting because, I've been trying to do some of that through my university, and that's been interesting. But um, I, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm looking for that progress this summer. How was your nap? How was your sleepy sleeps? Tiff's been sleepy sleeping. Um. Ooh, Francisco says, AP, what is your opinion on apartheid? Apartheid, if you mean apartheid in South Africa, is absolutely terrible. Nelson Mandela um, stood up against apartheid, as well as, being from a long, long history of people who have been doing that ever since colonial expansion in Africa and in South Africa, particularly. It was a the best way I can explain it from an American point of view is it was very similar to Jim Crow segregation, except more extreme. And you would say, well, how is it more extreme than the thing that was led right after, like slavery? And it's because in the United States, from my understanding, please correct me if anybody has more history knowledge than I am. I'm not a huge history buff, but from my understanding, uh, in apartheid South Africa, your race was not only a part of your identity in a legal sense, as far as where you could go, what you could do, how you could live your life, but it also stretched into a lot of physical, social dogma and a lot of physical violence against the native peoples of South Africa. It's this really interesting thing where even today, you can see discrepancies between racism in the United States and all of the issues and the horrors that people face trying to fight for civil rights during Jim Crow segregation and afterward in the United States. But you can see those continued parallels in South Africa even today. But it's this even weirder situation where in the United States slaves were brought from Africa by Europeans. And so there's this whole nation of people who essentially have a diaspora where they don't know what their family history is. They don't know where their culture comes from, specifically in Africa, because their family was just brought over here with a whole bunch of people from other parts of Africa and told, okay, you're just, because of the color of your skin, because you're darker than me, you're enslaved now and you're my property. In South Africa, it's this interesting thing where you have all of these different tribes, you have all of these different peoples who have been there for thousands and thousands of years and who have well-defined history in the area, and yet all of these wealthy Europeans came in and just took control. So you have this significant minority of the population who are these very wealthy white Europeans who to this day own a majority of the land and a majority of the control in South Africa. And so a lot of, I think, the apartheid, the pushback against apartheid, and even the current movement today is about trying to rectify a lot of that and trying to be able to give power to the people who have had that as their homeland for thousands of years. So I think it's crazy all around. It's crazy to parallel, segregation in the United States to apartheid South Africa, but from what I have seen, apartheid South Africa seems like it is a unique situation all on its own. Um, ooh, Gore says, did I tell you Gore's national anthem? Francisco says, you didn't. Francisco says, my first constitution was based on South African constitution from 1961. Heck, my first country was called Union of South Africa and Namibia, but it was simulationist. Interesting. So you were supportive of apartheid? Because that's during that time period. I'm concerned. There's some concern there for me. I wish you well in the development of pursuing micronationalism, but I would say that in modeling a country after historical events and after periods in history, especially ones that were very violent or ones that were very harmful to a marginalized group of people, um, you can only bring further difficulty and further problems by not addressing that and by not trying to make something better. If you're trying to model yourself after history and history is problematic, you're going to create a problematic nation. Um, what's up, cutie? You're trying to tell me something. Tiff's trying to tell me a thing. I don't know what the thing is. I might have to get off stream because Tiffany woke up and we got stuff to do. Uh, but I appreciate everybody hanging out. The big part of the stream, the reason that I wanted to have the stream, was because I want to test for Dracul tomorrow. With Christina, I feel really bad because we had such a long time doing interviews, doing different things, and it ultimately came down to my lack of technological ability and my kind of impromptu nature for trying to put it together in the last minute that costed us a lot of time. You all should have been able to see live, but you weren't able to because I didn't understand how to set things up properly, and I didn't know the resources that I would have in my disposal. So now that things are different, and I've been here a little while, and I know a little bit about what I can do, there's hope that I will be able to get the full interview with President Luke of Dracul and be able to get those answers for questions that I have and that you all have live. So we can discuss that and we can talk about it. Um, and then as well, we can give plenty of airtime for it. So hopefully that'll be good. Um, Francisco says, you have nothing to concern. I'm not racist. Me and my friends did it just for fun. I get that. I guess I would be curious as to, what the purpose of it was and how you handled that situation. Because, again, um, dealing with such a sensitive time in history and a particularly sensitive place during that time in history, one that was wrought with a lot of violence and a lot of historical controversy, it becomes an issue that if you're playing it for fun and you're not taking it seriously, that may be your stance on it. But I would be curious to see how it looks from the outside. If you watched it like a movie, how you would see the characters in that movie portraying that time in history. Um, the the reason a lot of the time that people make documentaries or make films about particularly horrible times in history is, to show a raw human emotion to a modern audience about how to portray that and, what that was like for those people is generally to cast light on a really difficult human situation. Um, but if you're doing that for fun, I feel like it can be potentially really hurtful for people who have had to experience that or may experience something similar today. So I'd be curious to know if you had anybody who was a part of that, who was from apartheid South Africa, or who had parents who were a part of apartheid South Africa, and had to experience that marginalization and that segregation and that abuse. It may not feel as enjoyable for them. And again, I don't know the details of it, but I would be curious to learn. Um, Gorst says, see, Francisco says, at least our anthem was a masterpiece. Very cool. Manu says, just understand the seriousness of some aspects of particular governments when you're doing that kind of stuff. Agreed. And also, I think it's important to understand like symbols and history and terminology, really understand, who it is that you could affect with the things that you're saying. If you're saying, well, you're just doing all these things for fun, but nobody in your group has ever been affected by that kind of marginalization, you may not realize how much it would hurt somebody who would listen to those things or see those things, who had actually experienced it. Francisco said you should listen to it. I appreciate it. I will say it looks like it's in another language, so I'm curious if the words are going to be in another language because I don't know what those words mean on their own. Besides the word Africa, I feel like I can, kind of understand that one. But I would worry that if there are lyrics, that the lyrics would not be in English and I would not understand them. But nonetheless, I think it's interesting to hear micronational anthems. A lot of time they're very prim and proper and da 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 da, and that's the whole nature of them. They're very similar to one another. I'd be curious to see if yours is different. Um, they said you should listen to it. It's sung in Afrikaans. Very cool. Very cool. I would, once again, I'd be curious to look up like a translation if it's a popular song. But I will see you all soon. I appreciate you hanging out with us and have a good afternoon. Bye, everybody. You gonna say bye? Bye.